Yeah, very good morning to all of you once again. So in this particular video, I'll be talking about compression and biomedical signals. And already I have mentioned you why we need this compression, what are the applications and all such things. Because basically to reduce the amount of data which is getting transmitted or the amount of storage it is occupying. So to avoid all such kind of things, I choose compression. Now again in this compression, there are two categories. One is lossy compression and the other one is lossless compression. Lossy compression is where we don't mind if the data is lost or to some extent it is lost, we don't mind. Whereas lossless compression, we want every precision to be regained again. So that is with respect to lossless compressions. So when I have to implement this compressions, especially when we have to deal with security systems or with military systems, in such places we cannot compromise with the data. It should be a lossless compression. But if it is like something like images or something, if you can check here, we are transmitting, if you transmit the images on WhatsApp or something like that, it would compress and transmit. It will tell the size is more than this, do you wish to, yeah, especially in share it and all such places. Or even if it is on the drive, if you are sending more than above some MB or something, it will tell you can send it at lesser size, do you wish to compress and send, or do you wish to share it on the drive. When you select those things, even though we are sharing the file as it is, the images, it could be the PDF, it could be, we are receiving it and we are able to read that completely. Images are also visible, the PDFs are also visible, we are able to access the information as it is. Only thing, it has been compressed. So it is almost say we are getting all the data but with less quality. So these things we can accept. If some data, some amount of the quality is lost, still we are able to retrieve the information from that PDF or from the images, we are fine with it. So when I talk about these compressions, what exactly is happening inside? You may be heard of MPEG 4, MPEG 3, JPEG, all these kind of whatever words you are hearing, those are all nothing but the compression techniques. Then what is being done inside that? Like how you already know about FFT, maybe you are done with the DSP subject with respect to this FFT, wherein to get an FFT of the 8-point signal, you would have arrived at the some output where that is nothing but a complex conjugate for the center point of the DFT. Say at from 0 to 4 is the set of values you get, 5 6 7 you will take the conjugate of 4 3 and 2. This is what we usually do. We will not compute for all of them, we will just take the conjugate and place it over there. So here if I have the data of 0 to 4 of an 8-point DFT, I can generate the remaining points. Same way, if I go for a 16-point DFT or a 32-point DFT, I don't need the memory space for the complete that many points of DFT or FFT. If I'm, see, FFT is nothing but fast Fourier transform, DFT is discrete Fourier transform. Making it fast by in-place computations or by using some strategies, we call it as fast Fourier transform on the MATLAB. Whereas actually it is implementing Fourier transform itself. Now this Fourier transform, whatever we are mathematically doing in the class, which will reduce the memory space. And another thing, so if I give you the if I give you the output, only say only the four values I will give you. Say I am computing an 8-point DFT of some set of signal, and that 8-point DFTs I will not share you the complete data, only from 0 to 4 is what I would share you with you people. You know how to get back the remaining data. Then from that, when you are appending the remaining 5 6 7, so 0 to 7 you would have generated this 0 to 7 FFT, whatever we have. If you apply inverse Fourier transform, you can get back the actual time domain signal of 0 to 7. So is this not a compressed information? I am not giving the complete 8 samples of the data. I am giving you only 0 to 4 samples of the data, that too in frequency domain after transforming the Fourier. So if this is a sample version of the compression is what I am talking. So here what is it shared with you people? A coded form of the information is shown. So what is the decoding you do? you are getting the conjugate of it. That is the decoding part you are doing. Then what is the inverse you are applying? You are applying the inverse Fourier transform to get back the time domain signal. So like this, Fourier transform has lesser compression ratio, whereas we do have compressions by cosine transform and sine transforms. This JPEG, MPEG and all will use that cosine transform itself for two reasons. First thing, it uses less memory space, less computations. Second thing, its compression ratio is very high. So here, what is the ratio of the compression? If I talk about in terms of F50, I am able to have 0 to 4, that is 5 samples out of 8. So that is my compression ratio. It is not even 50% I am compressing. Whereas DCT and other things, it has very high compression ratio, but still it could recover the data for us. Same way the sine transform. Of course, each compression techniques has its own advantages and disadvantages. This particular transforms is what I will teach you in the laboratory sessions when we join live. So here is the equation of the Fourier transform which you are already implementing. Same way we have equations for the cosine transform. These equations are derived at this level. You don't need to know about how are these derivations arrived at for the transforms and all, what is the need for cosine transform. Here I am just giving you the introduction to this transforms which are helping us to proceed for the compression technologies. So this is the expression for the sine transform. Now we have for the cosine transform two versions. So we call it as DCT1 and DCT2. Depending upon the application, we go for the implementation. So I have just chosen one simple JPEG compression of an image because as I told you, there are too many technologies right now being updated every now and then regarding this compression system. So what is very basically known to us or familiarly known to us is this JPEG, MPEG-3, MPEG-4, all these kind of things. So I am just explaining you about a sample compression with JPEG for an image. So what do we do over here? We start with this is an image compression is what I am talking about. So take the raw image, do the color transformations, pick that RGBs or whichever the color standards we want to choose, we will choose that colors. Then we will downsample. You already know about what are the colors in the images and you have heard of what is downsampling. So once I do the downsampling, I can apply the DCT. By now you know what is forward and inverse. Forward Fourier transform and inverse Fourier transform is what you are doing. Here instead of Fourier I will apply cosine transform. So forward cosine transform. Then we implement something called as quantization. This quantization is nothing but you're digitizing the discrete values. Say the discrete values are in the range of, for example, we have 0 to 5 volts is the signal which you are discretizing and taking as 8 samples. So you may be having it as 0, 2.5, 4.3, something like this in discrete itself. But now we can share the information on the system in the form of digital alone. So you're converting these discrete values to the nearest binary. So if the binary range is a 2-bit binary, then it would be 00, 01, 10 and 11. If it is a 3-bit binary, then we go from 000 to 111. So bringing the discrete value to its nearest digital value is what we are trying to implement over there in the form of quantization. So when you are quantizing a signal, of course we are rounding off our value of the discrete whatever we have to the nearest binary sample. So when I am rounding off it to it, obviously I am losing some amount of data, so I cannot reconstruct a proper sinusoidal waveform. There is what signal to noise ratio appears. So for this normal signal of 5 volts whatever I am talking, if I do the sampling with 4 levels with 2-bit binary quantization, then obviously I get 0 peak, again 0 and the negative peak. If I do it with 8 levels, so 4 levels I can take it for the positive half cycle, 4 levels I can take it for the negative half cycle. So at least reconstruction I can do it in the form of staircase. This sinusoidal generation you have done in the microcontroller lab. If you can recall, you have generated a staircase kind of structure of the sinusoidal waveform on the CRO. There it was digital to analog conversion. I am talking with respect to analog to digital, where a normal analog signal which you will discretize and then you will digitize it. For digitizing, we will pick this discrete value and put it to the equivalent binary value. That process is what quantization will handle. And of course, there again we have different forms of quantization. Now at this present scenario, we will not go for the in details. Proceeding further, we will encode the signal. Because I cannot send the complete signal as it is, I want to set minimal data. So first I will encode it, like how I am telling, we know it should be the complex conjugate or something like that. So some informations how to retrieve back while decoding is what will be encoded, maybe the sampling frequency or whatever it is. We will encode it and then start sending for the compression. Now once you are encoded, we have the compressed data with us. So you can send it on the mail or WhatsApp or share it wherever it is. Then you would decode the data using the information of whatever we followed in the encoding process. We will decode the data. Again, dequantize it means convert the digital form to discrete form. Then you would apply the inverse cosine transform, like how we apply inverse Fourier, here we apply the inverse cosine transform and then upsample it. Do the color transformations to bring back that colors. You will have the image as it is, how it was sent, at least near to the as it is image sent. Now once if this technology is ready, then what is happening in the present trend means there are variations in the, of course cosine transform remains to be same always. If you can Google for MPEG flow diagram like this, you will find the same similar MPEG diagram which is using cosine transform itself. It could be MPEG 3 and MPEG 4, but some algorithms will do for video and audio separately, some algorithms will do together, whereas some algorithms will come up with the updations for quantizations, different form of quantizations. Some algorithms will come up with different forms of encoding and decoding technologies. So these are the major roles or the major upcoming technologies in the same existing JPEG and MPEG terms, whatever we are hearing every other day. So that is with the compression what we are looking at. So these compressions I will explain to you with a demonstration in the live session using MATLAB. What is the compression ratio difference between a Fourier and a cosine and a sine transformation, we will be able to see when we join together on the a live session. Now what are the commands if you ask me? Already madam has taught you with respect to Fourier transform. So you have used FFT and IFFT for the fast Fourier and inverse Fourier. Same way for sine and cosine transforms, it is DST, IDST, DCT and IDCT. Of course I told you we have DCT in two variations, DCT1 and DCT2. So the second cosine transform we take it as DCT2 and IDCT2. So this is about the compression, what I just wanted to give you a brief idea. Now we go for something said to be biomedical signal processing. This maybe electrical students will have very less interest. One very reason is it is biofield, not an engineering field. That is a wrong assumption, because you should be proud being an electrical engineer. Even the heart which is working, it is working only because of the electrical signal produced by it. If that electrical signals production is stopped, heart stops functioning and the man is dead. So me being an electrical engineer, always I am proud to say that a human body is working only because of the electrical signal produced by the heart over there. Now, so coming back to our concept, whatever we are discussing here, that is about biomedical signal processing. So I will just give you an introduction to 4 basic biomedical signals. That is ECG, which you almost heard all other times. That is electrocardiogram, the signal of the heart. The second one is EEG, electroencephalogram. This is the signal of the brain. Third one, EMG, electromyogram, the signal of the muscles. Electrooculogram, this is the signal of the eyes. So these are the very basic 4 signals which are acquired from the human body to deal with, and these are measuring the electrical potentials from the human body using a differential amplifier. So whatever the voltage seen on the voltage seen on the electrodes, placed on the human body. The potential difference between these two electrodes is what is recorded. But of course for ECG we go with 3 electrode system, 12 electrode system. It depends upon the data acquisition system what we design with. So when we go for this kind of data acquisitions, here is a normal ECG waveform which I am showing you. How do the people come up, or how do the machines indicate there is something wrong in the person's heart operation? That is very simple. We will just measure the interval. So if you measure the interval between the peaks, or you measure the interval between the QRS wave of one cycle and the QRS wave of the other cycle of this ECG, because ECG has the terminologies with PQRST. So every segment defines some operation of that heart. So PR interval, QRS interval, and ST segment and PR segment, and of course QT segment. Like this we have 4 different segments. Each segments we have the standard time durations which it has to occur at, and their peak level standard what it has to occur at. If there is something wrong in any of the intervals, and if there is something wrong with any of the amplitudes, then immediately the machine has been programmed such a way so when the ECG printout comes, at least with these values it will print out, or it will print out with the values of whatever is beyond the standard, or it is below the standard. So I can call it as tachycardia, the heart is beating very fast; bradycardia, the heart is beating very slowly. So the heart operations are reducing, the pulsations are reducing, something like that. It may indicate to us. So if I am able to explain, or if I am able to just compute what is the measurement of these signals and compare with the standard values, I'll be able to tell what is the problem in that person. So that is all with this ECG implementation. Whereas if I come to the EEG signals, as I already told, it is the signals of the brain what is getting acquired over there. So seeing the brain signals, we can identify whether the person is excited, or whether the person is relaxed, or he is drowsy, or is sleeping, or is acting to be sleeping, or that person is in a really deep sleep. So these are what in general terms we say it as. But in technical terms, we name it as beta, alpha, theta, and sleep spindles or delta signals. Something like this is what technically termed as. But however, seeing this kind of these kind of terminologies or these signals is what is used actually to tell in the narcotic analysis where the person is telling truth or whether the person is telling lies to us. Now, if I come to the EMG signal, that is nothing but the muscle activity signal. Why do I need? Okay, at least ECG it will help us to tell about the health condition. EEG will help us to tell about whether the person is telling lies or truth or whatever it is. Why do I want a EMG signal to be acquired, which is a muscle signal? This EMG signal will help you develop a prosthetic hand or limb. It could be leg or hand or just the wrist, whatever it is. Prosthetic development can happen if you analyze this EMG signals of actual person and apply it on the artificial hand. So you will be able to give hands or legs to the person who doesn't have it, maybe lost due to a accident or whatsoever it is. We can develop that prosthetic hand to operate, and that could be fixed to that person. Even though he has lost the hand, once we fix it, that signals what is coming from the brain or from the muscle will pass on to the artificial hand, and that hand would operate exactly like a normal hand. That is the advantage of attempting for EMG signal. So, and are just few pictures about if you give an external stimulation to the brain at some particular nodes, how do we respond? This is just to prove that it is working with electrical potentials. So we do have response for different levels of the potentials at different points. So now here is the setup of the prosthetic hand, which is done by the engineering students itself, wherein we can develop this prosthetic hand which will acquire the EMG signals of one person's hand, and that could be used to operate this prosthetic hand. And that too, it is not of higher cost. Within around 18 to 25,000 of the cost implementation, we will be able to develop a prosthetic hand at the laboratory levels. Of course, at production level, this may come down really less, whereas at the laboratory point, when we are doing for one unit, it would be at this points. So you can acquire the signals and develop this prosthetic hand. Once the hand is ready, you can just hand it over to the person who needs it and make the life simple for that particular person. So again, I am repeating here, it is not that we will implement these kind of complicated projects. You can start at very basic scratch level. Just acquire the ECG signal and see how it is, or just acquire the signal and see the spectrum and analyze how it is. Not just ECG, it could be EEG, EMG, or any signal, or it could be even the audio signals. Your own audio signal you can acquire, plot the FFT and see what is your spectrum, what is your friends, your family members, how are the signatures different. You speak out it will show differently. You ask your friend to speak out the same it would be presented differently. So you can do at different levels. One, start with the acquisition, or develop the acquisition or the sensors, or come up with the filtering for the acquisition, or implement the complete setup on the hardware, or come up with the automation of this, or use the freely existing data and implement classifications or any prediction algorithms. It is all within us. Where do we start off with? First, only thing is we need to decide we start off, then you can figure out where you start off and where you end. So with this, I will close the session. Thank you everyone. Let us join for the live session to deal with these biomedical signals. Especially we would simulate the ECG signal and try analyzing the different variations of ECG signal apart from normal, and we would be simulating this ECG signal using Fourier series concept, and then we will compress this ECG signal and see the compression ratio, what we already spoke with respect to cosine transform and Fourier transform and all. The same thing you can implement with audio signal also. Just copy paste the code, it would work for our audio signals or for image signals, whichever we want, and we can compare the compression ratios and we can visualize after reconstruction how it is, before reconstruction how it is, and the compressed version how it is. So let us join back for the hands-on session. Thank you everyone.